Here we are at the Ferrari Owners Club Concours in Walton Hall, up near Stratford-upon-Avon, Shakespeare country. My name is Keith Bluemel, and we're going to take you around and show you some of the cars on display. If we look over here, we have a Ferrari 275 GTB4. This car is finished in fly yellow. It's a beautiful example of the model, multi-concours winner. It was the best of show overall here last year. Sorry, not here, but at the Ferrari Owners Club Concours last year. And it's also been shown at the Villa d'Este Concours and many other shows around the world. The owner is David Moores, who's a real enthusiast, and he keeps the car in absolutely pristine condition. As one can see, the yellow really suits the lines of this car beautifully. It shows off the curves and the aggressive frontal aspect of it. If we move on to the next car, we have a 275 GTS, which is a sister car to this, but as one can see, it has a completely different body style, both from the pen of Pininfarina, but this one is much softer, say less aggressive in appearance, more of a touring car for the open road. As one can also see, it's convertible, so you can really enjoy good open-air motoring with it. On this particular model, the bonnet scoop is non-original, but that's just something that has been done to it over the years. Moving on to a very similar car, it's the 330 GTS, which is the later version of the 275, the 4-litre engine instead of the 3.3 litre. This car at the rear is very, not very similar. It's virtually identical to the rear of the 275 GTS next to it. So if we come round to the rear, we can see the similarity between the two cars. And we can also see that this car is left-hand drive, whereas the 275 is right-hand drive. But even the quarter bumpers, the exhaust, the rear lights are all very similar, virtually identical. The only identifying feature from the rear is the 330 badge on the tail of this car and the 275 badge on the tail of the other car. Apart from that, it's just classic Pininfarina mid-60s design. If we move along again, we have another 275 GTB4. The 4 in the title refers to the 4 overhead camshafts, 2 per bank of cylinders. And you can recognise the 4-cam version because of the long central bulge on the bonnet. As we can see, this car has alloy wheels. These 10-hole alloys were the standard fitment, whereas on the yellow one that we first looked at has the optional Barani wire wheels. Again, just another beautiful car. This car is owned by a long-time club member, Richard Colton, and he uses it regularly in rallies and regularity events, as well as just enjoying it on the road. We then move on to a 550 Maranello, a more modern variant of the Mark, which proved very popular, which was the successor to the Testarossa series of cars, which were mid-engine cars, and this car brought Ferrari back to a front-engine V12 GT car. And as one can see, it has the traditional, or it is considered traditional anyway, Ferrari twin rear light arrangement, and it's just a really fantastic car to drive. Very powerful and very usable. Moving over now towards the 288, or actually the correct Ferrari title for it is just a GTO, but everybody calls it the 288 GTO to differentiate it between that and the 62 to 64 250 GTO. This is a 2.8 litre V8 mid-engine car with twin turbochargers, and it was really the first of the supercars, which from this developed the F40. And from the F40 after that, or not from the F40, but after the F40 we got the F50 and then the Enzo. But as you can see, it's very similar to a 308 in appearance, but it has much deeper and wider arches, split rim, wide wheels, and quarter bumpers at the rear. It's just a really fantastic car. Next to it we have the Enzo, which is the latest in the supercar series. Again, this car is built as was the GTO in a limited number, and it reverts to a normally aspirated engine, V12, and it's just a real power statement. As one can see from the aggressive lines, which are reminiscent of a Formula One car of this period. We move round to back to an earlier car, 250 GT Lusso, which is from sort of 63, 64. This is considered one of the most beautiful Ferraris ever built. A truly beautiful Pininfarina design for Grand Touring, 3-litre V12 engine, and just very smooth, beautiful curves to it. And next to this we have a 250 GT short wheelbase, which was used for both road and racing. During the early 60s, they first came out at the Paris Motor Show in 1959. This is a 1960 model, which can be judged by the shape of the door glass and some other small details on it. Unfortunately, somebody's lost the headlight ring on this car on its way here, but never mind. One can see that it's quite an aggressive looking car, and was very, very successful in racing, and various versions were built over the really 2-3 year period that it was in production. From that, the 250 GTO developed, which was more of a out-and-out racing car, of which only 36 3-litre examples were produced, and we have one of those just to the rear of that in what we could call BP green. David Piper had 2 of these cars, which he ordered in his private sponsors, BP, the petroleum company. They're green of the time, and this is the second of the cars he had or bought from Ferrari, which he raced successfully in the early to mid 60s, and this car is currently in the ownership of Sir Anthony Bamford. A really beautiful statement, one of the most valuable Ferraris on the market today. From moving around, we have a 250 LM, which is what Ferrari tried to homologate as a successor to the 250 GTO, but the FIA wouldn't play ball with them, because although it still was officially a 3-litre car, a 250 GT, they thought that Ferrari were trying to push the rules too far by changing from a front engine configuration to a mid-engine configuration. So there was a lot of argument at the time as to whether the car was in fact a development of the 250, and it had to initially run in races in the prototype category. Eventually it was homologated, but as a model in its own right, and it was actually only the prototype was produced with a 3-litre engine. All subsequent models had a 3.3-litre 275 engine. The next car around this little group is a version of the 250 short wheelbase again. Again, this is a 1960 car, and this particular one is another car owned by Richard Colton, which he has had for many, many years and used in events all over Europe. And as one can see from the sticker on the windscreen, it participated in the 50th anniversary celebrations of Ferrari in Italy in 1997. This is actually the second right-hand drive car produced and sold in the UK through Mariner concessionaires. We have a trio of F50s. As you can see, one of them has no roof on it, the other 2 have the roof fitted to them. So these cars had the removable roof section, which actually stows in a box which is provided with the car, and this was the supercar that replaced the F40, whereas the F40 had a turbocharged V8 engine. The F50 moved back to the traditional Ferrari V12 engine. These cars again were produced in limited numbers, and to see 3 of them together is quite an occasion, really. they are quite rare cars to see at the best of times. If one can say, the styling is quite radical, and it perhaps doesn't meet everybody's taste. Some people feel that it's a little jelly mould at the front, but it was, redolent of the styling process at the time, or styling fashion, shall we say, at the time. Also I can see it has one very avant-garde, one perhaps call it rear wing on it, which by anybody's standards is quite a masterpiece in sculpture. Again, we have the paired traditional Ferrari rear lights, which only in very recent years have they moved away from. Maybe we should move back over to the 250 Testarossa, lest we forget about it, as it is one of the most valuable cars, along with the GTO, on the field today. This car was its chassis number 0738, which is owned by a Brazilian gentleman who lives in the UK, and he's used it many years now in historic competitions, and has been seen driven very hard, and it's just a classic Scaglietti 250 pontoon fender body, which is gets that title because of the way the nose and the front wings are split. And it's finished in the what one might call traditional Brazilian colours, with yellow with the green noseband, and it's a car that Sergio Scaglietti regards as one of his masterpieces in body design, most of which were probably done on the back of a cigarette packet, as he was a metal craftsman, and he just sort of really designed them sort of on scraps of paper, and he just put them together as an artisan craftsman. But it is a really wonderful shape, and one of the, I'd say, most popular and valuable cars of that period, or Ferraris even of that period. One of the main feature displays this year, as one can see, is an array of 250 GT 2+2 models. Here we have 3, 6, 7 of them ranged around a much earlier Ferrari, but if we stick with the 250 GT 2+2s, which came out in 1960, and unusually for a Ferrari, the car didn't make its first public appearance at a motor show or motor salon, but at the Le Mans 24-hour race that year, where it was used as the course car. This was what one really might say was Ferrari's first proper 2+2. Although they'd produced cars in a 2+2 configuration before, the early ones in the 50s, the rear seat was really only practical for very small children or people with very short legs for very short journeys. But this was a proper 2+2 Grand Touring car with a capacious boot, long legs with its 3-litre V12 engine, and it proved very popular. Unfortunately, during the 80s and 90s, or say more so late 70s and 80s, when the values were relatively low, a lot of them were broken up and turned into replicas of 250 GTOs and 250 short wheelbases, making the number left for us to enjoy less than were originally produced. But I think the club is very fortunate to have such a fine array of these cars here today. All of them, apart from this red one in front of us here, are the earlier part of the series, which we call Series 1 cars, which have the driving lights in the grille. The red car, as we can see, has the driving lights outside the grille, marking it out as a Series 2 car. In fact, it could even be a 330 America, which is No, that does say it on the sign, 250 GT 2+2, but there were about 100 of these cars produced right at the end of the production run with a 3.3 litre engine in them, which were called 330 America. Sorry, a 4 litre engine, not 3.3, which were the forerunners to the upcoming 330 GT series. But most of these went to the USA, and that's why they were actually called the 330 America. But if we move to the rear, we can see that another small difference between the Series 1 and Series 2 cars. We have this Series 1 car, beautiful blue, absolutely really beautifully kept blue version here. And you see you have 3 separate rear light units, one for the reflector, one for the turn indicator, and one for the brake and tail light. Whereas on the later Series 2 car, you can see that it's a one-piece light unit, incorporating the indicator, brake and tail light and reflector plus a reversing light. This group of 250 G2 2+2s are surrounding a car that is a 166 MM53, which is a small series of 166 MMs which produced, I say, in 1953. And it has a Vignali body, spider body. This particular car has been owned by a club member, Bernard Worth, for I think since, from memory, the mid-60s, and he regularly brings it to the concours every year, and it's no trailer queen. He actually drives it with his wife to the concours every year. And it has what one might call a typical Vignali spider body style, with the big rounded rear fenders with the cutouts in, the air slots on the front wings, which exhaust air from the engine bay, and the typical Vignali badge on the side. A very pretty little car, and it's basically a racing car, but one that you could also use on the road, because so it was a real dual-purpose car. But very, very tight body lines, very minimalist overall, but just a truly beautiful piece of 50 Italian coach building. That really is a summary of the cars here on the upper lawn, but these aren't the only cars in the concours. There must be over 300 cars here in all, so maybe we should just walk over and have a look at some of the other cars on display on the lower lawn. No disrespect to the cars on the lower lawn, as there are some really wonderful examples down there. Predominantly modern cars, but there are a few older ones in as well. We're now on the lower lawn. Here we are. The first car that we see is a 250 Europa. This was Pininfarina's, if you like, first attempt at getting a homogeneous body style on a Ferrari. So that whereas a lot of the cars or Ferraris built prior to that were built by a variety of coach builders, and they were each car was different to another. No two cars were identical, whereas this was the first attempt to try and get a standardised body style, so it was recognised as a Ferrari from its body style. This 250 Europa then developed into the 250 Europa GT, which is virtually identical to this car, and the only real difference being the shorter wheelbase, because this 250 Europa is on a 2800mm wheelbase, whereas the 250 Europa GT was built on a 2600mm wheelbase, and the 250 Europa we see here had a sister car called the 375 America, which again had an identical body, but it was only a different engine size that differentiated the two models. And during the period of production and shortly afterwards, a number of 250 Europas were upgraded to 375 specification. But no, it's a truly classic style from the 50s. A more modern one we have. More modern variant, here's the 328 GTS, which is identifiable as a GTS from the Targa roof panel. We can see finished in black on this car. We can also recognise it from its personalised number plate, but that's a by the by. This model developed out of the 308 series, and it was basically just a slightly larger engine version of the 308, 3.2 litres as opposed to 3 litres, and the body style was softened from the wedge shape of the 308 by the use of different front and rear panels, but the centre sections of the body are virtually identical apart from small louver differences, details to the 308 from which it was developed. Moving on from that one, here we have a 166 Touring Coupe. This car, I don't know this particular car, but it's from around 1948-49, and it has the typical touring superleggera body lines, with the Ferrari egg crate grille, the scallops well, not really scallops, the little styling flares on the side, on the front and rear wheel arches, a cabin which is one of the earliest Ferrari 2+2s, but if we look inside we can see that this is actually has a seat that folds up as a luggage rack, but there's very little legroom in the rear, or very little comfort for anybody in the rear. So what we were saying earlier about the 250 GT 2+2, this was the sort of thing you would get in the 50s for passenger space, very, very little. Has the rear beautiful teardrop rear lights on the fenders, and thin white rubber bumpers and a single central exhaust for its 2-litre V12 engine. Very pretty car. Some of them had this saloon body shape, and others had the roof that fell down into the tail in one long curve. But there are very few of these cars produced because Ferrari was in its infancy at that stage, and they now really are quite collectible items. If we move further over here, we have a nice example of the first of the Boxer series, which is the 365 GT4BB, identifiable from other Boxers, the later 512 series and 512 BBIs with the fuel injection, by its triple rear light arrangement, which is duplicated in the triple exhaust tailpipe arrangement on each side. And actually it is quite rare to see them these days with the triple rear exhaust arrangement, because most of them got replaced by a twin exhaust layout. But that is the main identifying feature of the 365 Boxer as opposed to the later 512s. This one has had a slight modification at the front, as much as it had a knacker duct cut into the side of the nose, which I assume is there to aid brake cooling. But that is a non-standard feature of this particular model. Another identifying feature between this and the later cars is that the later cars had an integral spoiler, whereas this car had no spoiler at the front. It just swoops right under. But later 512 series cars had the spoiler which is to aid high-speed stability. Here we have what to many people is the epitome of the supercar, the Ferrari F40, which even now some 23 years after it was first introduced in 1987 is still one of the most exciting shapes on the road. It is just, it really was the Formula One car for the road of its day, and it still is today. It's just a very aggressive looking car with a completely bare interior, where you can hear the stones click-clacking on the carbon fibre floor, and it was really the first Ferrari to make large use of composite materials and carbon fibre. Although this had appeared earlier on the 288 GTO, this car, the whole body is composite basically, and like the 288 GTO, it has a V8 twin turbo engine, with twin turbochargers and twin intercoolers, which can be seen under the plexiglass rear engine lid. Here we have another 275 GTB. It's looking very elegant in black. Another 4-cam model, as were the previous two that we spoke about. This one has a very nice beige leather interior, which matches complements rather than matches the black bodywork beautifully. Very nice example of the car. Ferrari owners don't just use their cars on the road, but they like also to use them on the track, and the Ferrari Owners Club organises numerous track days at various circuits throughout the United Kingdom during the year. Over here we have some of the cars that might participate in these track days, which people are also welcome to use their regular road cars on, but some people just like to go that a little bit further and make the car more exciting or user-friendly on the track as opposed to on the road. Unusually, there's a 456 over here finished in black with red checkers on it, and a large prancing horse on the rear wing, which from the advertising on it is prepared by Foskers, who are a Ferrari or an independent Ferrari specialist at Brands Hatch in Kent, and they've prepared this car for a client, and it looks rather unusual for an 456, but it's something one might say is quite a nice little piece of kit for track use, with its V12 engine, slick tyres, stripped out interior, big roll cage, plexiglass windows. I'm sure that the owner has quite a lot of fun in this one. Next to this we have a 430 challenge car, which has been slightly modified with a deeper front spoiler, again for the pleasure of these owners' use on the track, and it gives people the opportunity to, if you like, play with their cars and do their own little modifications within the regulations of the race series that the Ferrari Owners Club also runs throughout the year, apart from also hill climbs and other events to which they get invited. So you can see, if we just take a look along the line, we have a variety of models here. We have this 430, as we say, we have a 355, we have a Golf liveried 308, we have a 328, we have a 360, a 348, and another 360, all in various stages of preparation and tune, but all to the owner's personal requirements, and run in the Ferrari race series or just at track days to suit the owner's requirements. And if we just have a general look around over these cars, we can see quite a variety of other Ferrari models. Hopefully this has given you an insight into what the Ferrari Owners Club is all about, and what its members can do, what they do, and where they go. I hope you've enjoyed this little appreciation. Thank you.